Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you guys for being here. Just as a brief introduction, my name is Isai Delbosque. I am an outreach and recruiting specialist here, but I'm also an alum of Mountain View College. And as I was invited to speak, I started thinking, well, I'm not a psychologist. I've read only very rudimentary Jung and Freud and all these other guys. But I think the heart of the issue here, if community college is anything, the emphasis is in community. And I think that is what will distinguish us now and in the future. And so as I was thinking, should I bring up statistics? Should I bring up, how suicide is the second leading cause of death among the ages of 15 to 34? And I just thought about that's too much. I'll let these guys take care of that. But I think the important thing is to see that, Elizabeth was just out there. And I could tell how important it was to her, and I hope you don't mind me. She kind of got emotional because she felt like people weren't really taking to heart the issue that mental health is currently among, I guess I'm still considered in that age group. Actually, no, I'm very fine. A little older than that. But just the whole thing of the severity of what that crisis means for you guys, mostly that are here today, and how a lot of taboos are attached to having a conversation about mental health. And so hopefully as we get the ball rolling and these young men and women get the ball rolling, that we can actively start having a conversation about what's happening with us. Because as a personal story, I know how hard it is when you begin a journey and then somewhere along the line a crisis happens. And who do you turn to? And because we've learned, and this is specifically in the Hispanic community, to internalize a lot of things, that along the way a lot of things manifest destructively. And so I hope that the people that are here tonight, I feel like you guys are brave. A lot of people just decided to kind of peek in and walk out. I hope that we begin to be the spark of that conversation. And that leads to you guys having conversations with those people down the road, our children and our children's children. And so with that being said, I would like to welcome you guys and go ahead and hand it over to the Omega chapter of Phi Theta Kappa with Eduardo being the first speaker. So let's welcome you guys.
So thank you very much, Mr. Delbosque. We appreciate that great introduction. So before we do start the event, the presentation, we provided a handout with a QR code where you can scan it through your phone camera and you can ask questions to our panelists later today. Don't worry, your questions will remain anonymous, and your answers will be answered later today. So, our presentation today is, what is mental health? The definition of mental health is the capacity to live a full productive life as well as the flexibility to deal with its ups and downs. So what does this mean? All of us have mental health, and like our physical bodies, our mind can become unwell too. 1 in 10 young people will experience a mental health issue throughout their life. Issues that include depression, anxiety, eating, and bipolar disorders. So it's important to take care of our mental health and to get help early through the process. And if things don't feel right, the same way we would get help for our physical health.
Now, what are the different types of mental health issues? We all feel low or anxious at some point in time. The point at which we might be experiencing mental health issues is when those feelings are persistent and unshifting or affecting our ability to function. It is important to talk to someone you trust or seek professional help.
Hi, I'm Jennifer McGuire, and I'm the historian. So what does stigma mean? Stigma is when someone views you in a negative way because you have a distinguishing characteristic or personal trait that's thought to be a disadvantage. Has anyone here ever been afraid to share your feelings for fear of negative reactions? I know I have. The negative feelings that people have toward people with mental health issues is called mental health stigma. Mental health stigma keeps a lot of people from seeking help for issues like depression. When you were younger and feeling sad, a friend or family member may have told you that talking about your feelings makes you soft. That simply isn't true. We want our community to feel that we can talk more openly about our mental health.
There is also social stigma, refers to the negative stereotypes of those with a mental health problem. These stereotypes come to define a person, mark them out as different, and prevent them from being seen as individuals. Social stigma is associated with discrimination. For example, a person with mental health problem may find that others, including friends and colleagues, avoid them. But it's okay. The best treatments for serious mental health issues today are highly effective. In fact, between 70 and 90% of people's symptoms are reduced and they feel better after following individualized treatment plans. However, most people live with their symptoms and on average of 10 years before they seek treatment. Over 60% of people with a mental health illness don't receive treatment, and the sooner people get treatment, the better they identify it and treat it early before it becomes a serious illness.
Regardless, we are here to start talking about mental health issues so that we, our family and friends, can all feel empowered to get treatment and start on the journey to recovery. Talking about mental health issues can be hard, and although now you may know more about the stigma or facts about mental illnesses, you still may not feel comfortable breaching the subject. The rest of today's presentation is going to focus on that and hopefully prepare you for those kind of conversations.
Hello everyone, I'm the Vice President of Public Relations for the Omega Mega Chapter. Now I know everyone is asking the question, what can I do to help? And that's why I'm here to discuss that. First, we must become that person to talk to, right? We want to earn their trust first. Start by talking about general and normal questions and avoid talking about mental health. If someone shares with you that they have a mental illness, it means that they're opening up to you in a huge way. Try to keep awkward silences at a minimum, and please don't shy away from the subject. By talking openly about mental health issues, it shows awareness to those in need of it. Second, we want to be nice, be supportive, and make an effort to say the right things. Your language and tone of voice is more important than you think. Third, make sure you are actively listening. Your friend, family member, or coworker, if you're talking to them about it and letting them open up to you about it, it can make a difference. Don't try to find a solution to the problem. Instead, focus on what they're really trying to tell you. Lastly, continuously show your support by keeping in touch. Be sure to let them know that they can always contact you when they need it. It doesn't matter if it's email, text, call, or even offering to meet up with them. Being there and showing that support really means that you care for them and you're in need of that help with them. Thank you.
We have resources on campus that may help you and a friend. Indeed, we have our MBC counselor, Jessie Gonzalez, that can help us to manage their stress, their emotions, and setting a goals for themselves. As you can see in the screen, we have his contact information. If you don't know, now we know about him. We also have provided a QR code that provides you to outside resources, and you can see the list of them.
So again, if you have any questions, we have the QR code where you can scan it through your phone camera, and it'll take you directly to a website where you can type your questions, and then your questions will be answered later today by our panelists.
Hi, my name is Angil, and I'm a treasurer for Omega Omega chapter here in Montgomery College. I'm glad to introduce today's guest speaker. She is a psychology professor at Montgomery College, where she has served over 30 years in higher education as a coach, as an administrator, and as a professor. She earned her doctorate in community college leadership at the University of Texas at Austin, and has 2 master's degrees in counseling and kinesiology. She is also a licensed professional counselor, supervisor, and emotional intelligence researcher. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Gabe Yoder.
Hi, guys. I am so impressed with these students, aren't you? I mean, I admire your courage for picking this topic. It is so important that we talk about it. And I think you'll see that in my brief remarks today. I am absolutely convinced that nearly almost everything can be resolved by open, honest, compassionate conversation. Did you hear what I said? Just talking about it, having the courage to speak the truth is so very powerful. To speak your own truth, to allow the people you're with to speak their truth. Have you experienced that? It's extremely powerful. Now, the opposite is also true. Shame, anxiety, fear, they all thrive in secrecy and isolation. In fact, they exponentially multiply when in isolation, in darkness, in secrecy. But if you shine the light of empathy and compassion on it, and you do that by speaking, right? When you shine the light of empathy and compassion on it, very often those problems that seem so huge just begin to dissolve. It's miraculous. It's magical. And that includes mental struggles, emotional struggles. Even those things that we label mental disorders are often alleviated by what we psychologists call psychotherapy. You know all that is? It's talk therapy. That's all it is. I remember as a little kid sitting on the front porch with my grandmother having these meaningful, life-giving talks, which probably did more for me than what I can do for my clients even these days. It doesn't have to be a licensed person. If you have a trusted friend to talk to, that's a powerful asset in your life. Now sometimes when we've developed ways of thinking and habitual ways of being in the world, we can get pretty tangled up in our heads and our emotions, and we can kind of get stuck. At that point, you may need a professional to help you get unstuck, and maybe medication too, to help you get unstuck. I've been there. When I was about your age in college, I needed help getting unstuck in my faulty ways of thinking. There's no shame in that. Often what happens, though, is people do feel shame. They feel like it's a weakness, or everybody else has it together, but I don't. Have you ever felt like that? Which is not true. Look around. There is not one person in here who hasn't struggled from time to time, and if you haven't yet, you will soon. That's called life. It's just life. But if you don't yet have a skill set to deal with those tough things, you don't know where to go and you don't know what to do, the world or our culture can offer you all kinds of things that will make it worse. It will give you immediate relief maybe, but will take you down a very dark path. In fact, mental struggles, emotional struggles, relationship struggles for people who don't have the skill set yet to deal with them often end up in addictions or violence or unhealthy relationships. Am I telling the truth here? So it's vital, guys, especially at your age. I wish I had known what some of the things you're going to hear today when I was your age. It would have saved me years of grief. So listen to it, listen to it. Spend as much time working on your inner life as you do your goals, right? What good is it going to do you if you check off all the boxes and you do the things in order to have a degree, but you don't have a clue how to have a healthy relationship? Or if you are anxious all the time and don't sleep well, or you're relying on some kind of substance to make it through the day. So it's just as important, more important, I think, frankly, to take care of your emotional self and your thinking before you do anything else, okay? So let's talk about briefly, I forgot to start my timer here. Somebody wave your hand when my 10 minutes is up, okay? I had real good intentions of staying right on time. Somebody? Eduardo, somebody, you got the time? Okay, all right, I got you. Okay. So, anxiety is your body's natural response to stress and challenges, and it can be a good thing. It can be eustress, that's a good thing. But how do you know when it's normal anxiety, like I'm about to take a test, or I'm about to ask this person on a date, or I'm gonna say I love you for the first time, or I'm gonna, I got a job interview, or like you guys had to stand up here and give your little talk today. I saw a little tension in some of you. I think that's a normal anxiety. That's good for you. It stretches you, causes you to kind of step into an area you haven't been in before, and it creates, because success breeds success, and you get more courageous the more you do it. So how do you know when it's normal, when it's not? You guys in your introductory remarks alluded to this. And my topic is anxiety, if it lasts more than 6 months, and it happens most of the day, and it keeps you from living your life in one way or another. It keeps you from going to school, or getting up and go to work, or it keeps you from things that you want to do. If it inhibits the way you want to do life, it's affecting you in a seriously negative way. And at that point, I hate labels, frankly, but we're forced kind of to put labels on things. That would be labeled as an anxiety disorder, okay? I hate saying label, though, disorder, because some people automatically think, okay, I got that. I guess I've got it all my life, and that's the way it's going to be. It's not true. It's habitual ways of thinking and being, and the cool thing is that we have the immense power to choose what we think about. Did you know that? So we're gonna try a couple things here that are actually, I hope, will be helpful to you. Let me click my thing. Do we have a clicker up here? Oh, who's got me? That's awesome. Wow, I just went like that. It went. Okay. I love this little cartoon. It says, I'm at a place in my life where peace is a priority. I make deliberate life choices. I make deliberate life choices to protect my mental, emotional, and spiritual state. I remember the day that I made that decision for myself. And it began to change my life. And I live in such peace and freedom now. You wouldn't recognize the person I was many years ago. Ron will, he's known me nearly my whole life. He knew the crazy Deb, the anxious, the panic, I'm not going to not tell you all the dark stuff, but it was nasty. But I'm telling you that, so if you haven't done that yet, I encourage you to think about making that very deliberate, intentional decision to make peace, inner peace, peace with yourself, peace in your relationships, peace, a priority in your life. And then learn, if you don't know yet, Just keep learning, keep learning. I'm still learning. I'm 64 and I still am learning how to create things in my life that bring me peace, how to recognize who I really am and what brings me joy, all right? So Jake may know a few things about my past too, because he read my book, but shh. So make that deliberate choice. One of the ways you do that is by choosing to be in the present moment. So we're going to take 10 seconds here and do that. I want you to take a deep breath, let it out, and I want you to turn to the person next to you and look around the room and do not leave anyone out here. Make sure everyone is talked to. And I don't want you to laugh this off, because humor sometimes is a way to deflect connection. And what we're trying to do is create a moment of connection. I want you to turn to somebody, ask them their name, shake their hand, and say this, say, I see you. Was everyone seen and heard just now? I hope so. Ron, did anybody speak to you? Oh, good. Okay. All right. There is immense power in just hearing someone say your name. Did you know that? To look you in the eyes and hear your name. I tell my husband that sometimes, and he'll be telling a story about something to one of our friends, and he'll say, well, she told me that, da-da-da. I told him later, I said, don't say she. Don't call me she. Don't call me she. Say, Deb said. You hear the difference? It's a way of being valued. And now that's something you could choose to do. You could choose to always use somebody's name, even when it sounds redundant. It's just respectful not to. And then you kind of train people how to treat you by what you tolerate, so you can train them to respect you as well. And then that breeds more peace, frankly. All right, I know it's got to be close to 10 minutes, but I want to do one more thing very quickly, Eduardo, may I? This is a cognitive behavioral technique. Sometimes, before you've learned this good skill set and learned it so well that it's just in your bones and it's your way to be in the world, that you can walk in peace 85–90% of the time, which is pretty good. But before you learn that skill set, sometimes your amygdala, the emotional center of your brain, kind of takes over. And when that happens, your executive functioning part of your brain, the one that is smart, the one that knows what to do and can think and make decisions, kind of goes offline. So what do you do when that happens? What do you do when the anxiety turns into panic, or it turns into, oh my God, I can't even think because I'm so stressed out? What do you do then? Well, let me give you a quick technique, and you need to and remember, okay, I think this is an amygdala hijack here. So I need to get my brain back online, my smart brain back online. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay attention to my body. Okay, I'm going to quit thinking about all the things that are messing with my head right now, and I'm going to think, okay, what am I feeling? I'm going to pay attention to my breathing. And combat veterans use this. We use this in therapy a lot. And I drew it on here as a box. You can see there's arrows around that. Do this with me. The arrow across the top, I want to breathe in slowly for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4 seconds. And then exhale for 4 seconds. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4 seconds. Where are we at? Exhale? Exhale for 4 seconds. Yes! Okay. Okay. When you pay attention to your breathing, The other thing you can do is speak out loud, because you can't ruminate on something if you are speaking something else. And you need to turn the rumination off in your head. It's called thought stopping. Okay? So say something out loud. So it's a good idea to have some truthful admonitions to, got it? To speak to yourself. Even when you don't feel worthy, say, I am worthy. I may not be perfect, but I'm worthy. I am loved because I'm a human being. I'm valued because I'm alive. Even though when you feel like a mess, it doesn't matter how you feel. You speak the truth out loud. The words spoken out loud have such power to affect your brain, because you're using several parts of your brain when you do that. Your verbal, your auditory, right? So, and then the other things, get enough sleep. Don't do drugs. Meditate. Exercise. Don't put much on your plate that you can't get it all done in a day. Okay? Be reasonable about your schedule. It's not a race. And then eat good. Okay. So right now, I need for you to look at me and say, okay, we see you, Deb.
Okay, we see you, Deb.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Deb Yoder, for your beautiful presentation on anxiety. Now it's time for our next speaker. It is an honor for me to introduce today's speaker. He earned his PhD in public administration from the University of Texas at Arlington. He is devoted to help you identify, understand, and develop skills to resolve your educational, career, and personal issues. He has worked in cases involving domestic violence, addictions, anxiety for all ages, cultures around the world. Besides helping his community, his interests include arts of theater, music, and dance, and is also the biggest Oakland Raiders fan in Dallas. Please help me in giving a warm welcome to our very own MVC counselor, Dr. Jesse Gonzalez.
Raiders fans know a lot about depression.
So do Cowboys.
Okay, these are my notes. It's kind of how my mind thinks, the way I organize myself. I want to talk about at least 3 of those boxes. One is symptoms, then misunderstandings, and then things that will help. Symptoms, mainly because a lot of people really have a misconception about what depression is. Depression is just about being sad, Cognitive, physical, emotional factors about depression. Cognitive, a lack of focus. A lack of being able to concentrate. I ask folks, have you had trouble kind of concentrating? Do you have trouble kind of staying focused when you're in class or when you're talking to somebody? Forgetting things. I know we talked about this yesterday, but I forgot what it was. I used to remember stuff all the time, and now I can't remember stuff. Trouble making decisions and second guessing your decisions. I have trouble deciding simple things, and then I go back and I go like, did I really mean that? Is that really what I wanted? I second guess myself. Circular thoughts. I think about the same stuff over and over and over again. I never really quite resolve it. There's a lot of cognitive aspects about depression. It affects how you think and your ability to think. There are physical symptoms. Very tired, very low energy. I had a guy that used to tell me, I sit on my couch and I think, okay, what do I need to do today? This, and this. He said, an hour later, I'm still thinking on my couch, yep, I really need to do this. He said, my mind wants to do stuff, but my body doesn't. My body doesn't. I had another guy tell me, I feel like I'm dragging my body around all day long. I'm just dragging my body around. When you can't seem to make yourself do stuff, you don't seem to have the energy level to do stuff. You feel like you're not really motivated anymore. You sleep too little, you sleep too much. You eat a lot less, you eat a lot more. There are physical symptoms that'll tell you you're probably depressed. And then you get to the emotional stuff. A lot of it's a lack of hope. A lack of hope, a feeling of helplessness. A loss of interest or pleasure. The Greek have a word called hedonia. A hedonist is someone who lives for pleasure. I knew a lot of these guys in high school and college. Live for pleasure. They got another word called anhedonia. People with depression suffer from anhedonia. I can't get no satisfaction. My mom fixes my favorite food and I'm not hungry, Mom. My favorite song comes on and I don't feel like turning it up. My friend calls and says, hey, let's go do such and such. And I know in my head, I like doing that, but I'm just not feeling it. I can't seem to get pleasure. No tiene sabor la vida. I just can't seem to get pleasure from things that I know I really like. I feel guilty. I don't know why. I just kind of I feel guilty because I can't seem to do stuff. I feel guilty because I can't get stuff done. I feel guilty because people rely on me and I seem to let them down. I feel worthless. I don't feel like I'm really contributing, like I'm really adding or helping a lot. I feel helpless. I feel irritable. Now, if you do all the above, yeah, I'm going to feel irritable. But you know, it's not just like hangry. I'm really irritable. I'm a lot easier. I got a shorter fuse than I normally did. Because of my feelings kind of being flatlined, I try to jumpstart myself. I drive too fast. I drive crazy. I jump out of airplanes. I take substances or drink. I do gambling. I do dangerous kinds of stuff to try to get a thrill, to try to get a rise, to try to feel something. Mood swings. You know, I'm happy, I'm sad. I have a couple of days I don't feel like doing anything, and then I kind of, let's go do stuff. And my friends are like, what is the deal? You're up, you're down, you're here, you're there, you're all over the place. I can feel anxious. I feel empty. I just feel empty. Sometimes I've had people with depression tell me, you know, I'm not sure I feel anymore. I'm not sure I really feel much anymore. And then I feel sad. Bingo, we finally get to the one that everybody thinks about as depression. How many things have we talked about as factors? Cognitively, physically, emotionally, in addition to just feeling sad. There's a whole menu of things that you can feel when you're depressed. And so sometimes somebody will come in and they're talking to me, and I'll say, let me give you a couple of things, and tell me if you sounds familiar to you. And I'll give them about 4 or 5 of these things, and they'll go, yeah. One guy said, you've been reading my mail? And I go like, who reads the mail anymore? I go, I think you got depression, dude. And he goes, depression? He said, I'm not sad. I go, no, but a lot of what you got, it's depression. A lot of folks have depression. They don't know it. I'll ask students on this campus, I'll say, how long have you felt this way? I don't know, maybe middle of elementary school. They've been living this way a long, long time. It's their normal. It's their normal. They think, it's just, you know, it's getting in the way of school now, or it's getting in the way of my job, or it's getting in the way of my relationship, but they've been feeling this way a long time. Misunderstandings. Let me give you some quick misunderstandings. Other people looking at me. That guy's lazy. That guy's just stubborn. That guy just doesn't care. That guy's really rebellious. I get a lot of this from the kids I work with, or teachers at school. He can change if he wants to. If he wanted to, he could snap out of this. That's how it looks from the outside sometimes, because we don't really know what it is. From the inside, I can feel like, why can't I just snap out of this? What's wrong with me? I ought to be able to grit my teeth and just make myself do stuff. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I'm not getting stuff done I used to. My grades are falling. I'm falling behind at work. I'm embarrassed. I underestimate how serious this is. Oh, it's just a phase, man. I'll get through this. I'll get through this. I start doing a little something, something, and it gets to making me feel better. So what do? I quit doing what made me feel better. Is that not human nature? Doctor, you go in with a flu, he'll give you medicine. Now take this till it's done. Take this till. Why do they want you to take it till it's all gone? Because if you don't, it's going to come back. And that's what happens with depression. You do a little something, something, and it's beginning to make you feel better. You go, okay, I'm cool. You quit doing it, it comes back. You have to not stop depression. You've probably been that way a long time. It's going to take a while to get over it. And then being too hard on myself in a whole variety of ways. I'm too hard on myself. That's what depression looks like. It's insidious. You can't see it. You observe the behaviors. You observe, your own feelings. And since most people don't really understand what it is, they can get the factors, but they can't add them together, and it doesn't add up to, oh, depression. Ding, ding, depression. So they go with those misunderstandings. There are some things that really help. Two things you could do is go to your therapist or doctor, but why would anyone do that? You can go to your therapist or doctor. There's some physical things, some social things, some emotional things you can do. Physically, it's really about staying active in a number of different ways. Physically active, and by physically active, I mean about 20, 30 minutes a day of solid activity. Run, walk, skip rope, jump, swim, taekwondo, Zumba. One girl said, I tried that Roomba thing you told me. I go, no, not Roomba. That's the vacuum cleaner that goes in a circle around here. Yeah. Zumba. One lady said, can I clean house? I said, so don't sit down. So long as you don't sit down, you keep moving for 20, 30 minutes, you're cool. That much physical activity actually kicks off endorphins in your brain that elevates your mood. That is actually a natural mood elevator. So walk your dog. I had one lady walk your dog. That took care of it. Big dog pulled her along. She was fine. Diet. Cut down on sugar. Cut down on refined carbs. There's all kinds of places you can find healthy diets. And it's really more about avoiding some bad things. It's amazing how much what you eat can affect your mood. Sleeping. Regular amount of sleep. Having a routine before you go to bed, having a routine that kind of moves you toward getting to sleep. Avoiding drug and alcohol. Alcohol will not make you feel better, it's a downer. Stimulants will pick you up and then you crash. You need to find a natural, ongoing, healthy way of working with your mood, and drugs and alcohol ain't the way to do it. Social. You don't really feel much like being with folks sometimes when you're depressed. You don't have the energy, for one thing. You don't have the physical energy, you don't have the emotional energy, to like chit chat and stuff. But being with folks, again, kicks off those endorphins. Being with folks is really, really helpful to you. I tell the students 2 or 3 times a week, be around people and interact with them. Class does not count. A study group would count. Class does not count. Sitting in church doesn't count. Being in a Bible study, being in some kind of group, that will count. You've got to interact. You've got to interact somehow. Go places. Try something new or interesting. Never been to this place, go try it out. You don't have to keep going back forever, but try something new. Go to places you used to like. Back in the back of your head, you like it. You don't feel excited getting there, but get out of the house. Get out of the house, be around people, be in nature. Being in nature is a wonderful thing. It's a healing thing. There's lots of parks, there's lots of lakes, and I like water. Lakes, ponds, rivers, streams, brooks, whatever. You may like trees, you may like flowers, go to the Arboretum, go outside, go in nature. Do things that are physical, do things that are social. Emotionally, you want to get grounded and you want to uplift yourself. You want to get grounded, you want to uplift yourself. Some of the same stuff Dr. Yoder was talking about. Meditate. There's an app for that. You know that? You can get apps for free that'll walk you through meditating. There's apps for yoga. You could do yoga at home. You don't have to go somewhere and like everybody else is like bendy and you're like, oh, I can't stretch. You can do it in the privacy and comfort of your own home. Yoga has some wonderful, the Hindus had some wonderful mind-body kind of connections. Journal. Journal. I know it's old-fashioned, but you can do it. You can journal electronically. You can journal on your phone. It gets your emotions out. It stimulates your thoughts, gets out your emotions, helps you begin to dialogue with yourself. Self-affirmations, make them true. If I put on the wall, God, you're beautiful. Well, I'm not buying that. I don't know. Now, if I said, you have beautiful thoughts, you have beautiful feelings. Okay, those I can buy, and those are good things. If I put on there, you are someday going to be a point guard in the NBA. You and Bob are going to go to the Maverick games. Okay, we can do that. Gets me out of the house. It's a social thing, and it's a great affirmation. You are a great follower of basketball. Affirmations that say good things about you begin with the little things you can believe, and then stair step. A lot of this stuff is stair stepping. You start small, you start where you are, and you stair step up. Positives for that day. The last one is gratitudes, which is kind of the same thing. Positives for that day. Positives is what you do. What are some positive things you did today? You can look in the mirror, you can lay in your bed. I'm more likely to lay in my bed. What are 2 or 3 positive things I did? What are 2 or 3 things I did good today? Well, I helped this person. I remembered this thing I usually forget. I did that better than I usually do. I did some positive things today. And gratitudes are things around you that you're grateful for. My grandma used to call them blessings. There are some good things that happened. Sometimes it's just something good that you saw, okay? But there are things that you can do. Part of being depressed is the lack of energy, the lack of pleasure, the lack of making decisions and focusing, all the kind of stuff we talked about. But part of it, I don't feel any sense of control. Helpless, flip side, I don't feel any sense of control. When there are some things you can do, and there's some things you decide, and there's some things you see yourself doing, you begin to gather some sense of control, some sense of confidence, some sense of worth, some sense of accomplishment. You begin to counter some of those things we talked about that were symptoms or factors in depression, and you begin to move forward. Instead of spiraling, you begin to spiral. And that is a very good thing when you're depressed. How much time I got, Joe?
10 seconds.
10 seconds, okay. Thank you, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gonzalez, for your insight in today's topic. So it's an honor for me to introduce our next guest speaker, Don Gieske. Born and raised in a small rural community in southern Illinois, he started flying in high school and went on to have a 45-year career as a pilot flying for the Air Force. As he approached the end of his career, he started volunteering for an organization called Crisis Response Ministry, also known as CRM. CRM is an organization that helps people and reach out people in need after disasters, crime events, and terrorist attacks. Today, he is the chaplain for the Dalworth Gardens Public Safety Department and the DCCCD Police Department chaplain, where he helps and spends most of his time helping all DCCCD students on campus, and always accompanied by his friend and partner, Dolly the Comfort Dog. Please give a warm welcome to our very own NBC chaplain, Don Gieske.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay tonight?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, because I'm hard of hearing and I talk loud, so you're going to hear me just fine. Before I start, I would like to introduce to those of you who do not know Dolly. Dolly is a Labrador Retriever. She's 7 years old. She is a comfort dog, all right? Comfort dog in that is her role here at Mountain View College. Technically, she is a therapy dog. And a therapy dog has one purpose and one purpose only. Dolly, come here and walk up here and say hi to everybody. Her purpose as a therapy dog is to let you love on her, because when you pet on a dog, 3 real cool things happen to you lowers your blood pressure, lowers your heart rate, raises the level of endorphins in your blood. Now, I was giving this presentation the other day, and the young man said, wait a minute, there's 4 things. I said, well, what's the other one? He said, she just makes me smile. And that's what it's all about. That's what emotional health is about, isn't it? Smiling. And so, Edward, I'm going to let you hold on to Dolly while I talk so that she knows she's with her buddy. So, we are here today, Dolly and I, because through our work and through the chaplaincies that we do with various departments, we deal with suicide. We deal with suicide intervention, where we can step in and help. We also deal with the other side, and that is dealing with the aftermath of suicide. That's the tough part, the part that we don't like to do, but it's also a very important part. So my talk today is suicide. And oh my goodness, there's Dolly up there on the picture. Very good. Suicide is becoming epidemic in our country right now. We're hearing more about it, and that's because it's happening more often. Every day, there's approximately 130 suicides in this country. And for every suicide, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 attempts at suicide. So this is an epidemic that's growing in our country. And it grows in groups as well. For example, our veterans, our military veterans, 23 military veterans every day commit suicide, which is a tragedy. We're going to talk about some other groups that are very susceptible to suicide, maybe some groups that are very close to you. But first of all, let's talk, and I want to hear from you guys, okay? I'm not going to lecture you. I want to hear from you. What are some of the reasons people commit suicide? Anybody? Relationships? Yes. What else?
Academic pressure.
Academic pressure. What else?
Their life situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Say again?
Financial factors.
Yes.
They feel alone.
Yes, there's so many things. And Dr. Gonzalez here talking about depression, right? Oh my goodness, that is a major cause of suicide. There are so many things. Hopelessness. Again, we talked about that. Social isolation. There's so many. But we want to talk about you guys, all right? And the statistics were brought up earlier. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in people from the age of 10 to 24. It's also the second leading cause of death for college students. What's the first? Non-intentional death. In other words, car accidents, falls, accidental poisoning, all the things that are not intentional. But suicide is the next one for college students. Why? And we talked about this, I think, in this broader area. Why specifically is it with college students? And you mentioned some of these. Pressure, academic pressure was one of them. What else? What else is affecting you directly? Any ideas? How about pressure on you from family? Okay. Let's say that you come from a family that is not very well off economically. They are sacrificing to get you into college, and you're in college and not doing well. Is that a pressure? Is that something that you would feel would be something that would be very detrimental? Absolutely. There's a lot of those things that go on. And what we found out is, again, one of the things for people your age, more young people die from suicide than from cancer, heart disease, AIDS, birth defects, stroke, pneumonia, influenza, and chronic lung disease combined. Isn't that staggering? So that's something we need to understand and something we need to talk about a little bit today. The first thing I want to give you is an unofficial definition of suicide. You're not going to find it in the dictionary, but it is a very real-world definition of what suicide is. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Okay? The person that is contemplating suicide thinks it's the only solution. But that's not true. There are solutions to be found. Somebody that's in the woes of depression or whatever they're going through do not see that there's alternatives, all right? But many times when we deal with the families after a suicide, and they read the suicide note, or they see the text, or they hear the last words of this person, and they go, oh my goodness, if I had just known. If I had just known, I could have helped, because there is a solution to that problem. Is it a financial solution? Is it helping you with relationships? There are ways to solve the problems, and that's the thing that we need to be able to communicate to people that are in that situation. So how do we help? How do we help? What kind of things can we do to help? But first of all, how do we identify people that might be prone to suicide, might be contemplating it, might be actually getting ready to do it? How can we identify who those people are? Okay, there's some different areas that we can look at. One of the areas is their actions. Another is their physical manifestations, what's happening that you can see in their lives. What words do they use, and what kind of feelings are they experiencing? So let's talk about actions that you see with people that might be contemplating suicide. What do you think some of those might be? Well, first of all, how many of you in here know somebody who is committed suicide or has contemplated suicide? Let's see some hands. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at this small sliver of our college population and all those hands that were up. So extrapolate that on out to the college world and think about this and how important this is. Okay, first of all, what kind of actions do we see? I'll give you one to start with. Extreme behavioral change. Okay, somebody is doing something very different than they've done in the past. What else? What are some other things you think of?
Isolation.
Isolation? Yeah, very good. Anybody else?
Giving things away.
Say again?
Giving things away.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll tell you a personal story about that. During my flying career, I was a pilot with the airline, and I met a young flight attendant who was my granddaughter's age, maybe, I don't know, very young, and she was having difficulties, and I started talking to her, trying to get her to open up. And at one point in time, she said, I need some money. Could you loan me some money? And I said, sure. I lent her some money. I never heard from her. It never came back. And then one day, out of the clear blue, here comes a check in the mail paying me back. And I went, great, she's doing so much better. That was the last thing that she did before she killed herself, was she put her affairs in order. So there you go. That's a very good one. Yeah. What else? Anybody else have any ideas? What about somebody that's a great athlete and that loves playing sports and loves watching sports, and all of a sudden he's not doing that anymore? Okay, those are the kind of things that we're looking at. And as we've said before, misuse of alcohol and drugs is a way that people try to protect themselves, try to help themselves through it, and it doesn't work. Okay, let's talk a little bit about physical changes. What kind of physical changes might you see in somebody that's in that state of mind?
They start eating less.
You what?
They start eating less.
Eating, yes, absolutely. What else? What about somebody who always takes great pride in their appearance, and then all of a sudden they're looking disheveled, they're not taking care of themselves? Might that be a clue? Yeah, absolutely. Disturbed sleep. Boy, that goes a long way as we talk about depression and going into this. Disturbed sleep is another symptom that we can see. And then let's talk a little bit about some of the words that you might hear from somebody. What kind of things do you think that somebody that's contemplating suicide might be saying to you? I'm sorry?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt, that's one of the things that comes up. And sometimes these things start off very, very innocuously. You don't even really think it has anything to do with, for example, I'm an old guy. What do I say a lot? Man, I can't think straight. Well, that's because I'm old, not because I'm contemplating suicide. But that might be where it starts. And then it gets on to, I can't do anything right. Okay? And then it gets on to, no one can do anything to help me. Now we're starting to see this multiply and go faster, don't we? So we're looking for things. Here's another one. All my problems will end soon. And you're going, well, what the heck does that mean? That may very well mean that they're thinking about taking their life. Okay. And so then we can talk about things like their feelings. You know, people that can be desperate, they can be angry. Worthlessness is a feeling, and hopelessness are two of the big feelings. And again, it's all tied into these descriptions and these feelings and impressions in a lot of cases. Okay, so the question is, how, now that we know these signs, we know what these are, how can we help? What can we do?
The main ones you can listen to?
Oh my goodness, absolutely, absolutely. You've heard that from both speakers today about the importance of communication, about the importance of being there. In our business as chaplains, we call that the ministry of presence. We come in there not necessarily to talk to you, not necessarily to preach to you, but to let you talk, because how therapeutic is talking. Now, somebody that's in really bad shape is going to be somebody that you know, right? It's going to be your friend, it's going to be a family member, somebody you're sitting in class with. You're going to have the opportunity to maybe help them by doing what you just said. So, we've talked about all these warning signs. You can call these warning signs something different. What if we called them invitations instead of warning signs? These are invitations that these people in need are putting out to you. Okay? So what do you do when you get an invitation to the wedding or an invitation to the sports event from somebody? What do? You usually accept it, don't you? Or you reject it, one or the other. But what we are saying to you is when you see these signs, when you see these things coming up that could be possible triggers or things that are leading to suicide, accept it. Ask. Talk to them. Talk to them is very important. But here's one of the tough things we ask people to do. If your friend or your classmate is showing signs that you think might be thinking about suicide, ask them. That is a hard thing to do. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't do that because now you're going to put that in their mind when it wasn't there. But if you see all these things, it's already there. So, you know, Joe, I tell you, you know, you've not been your normal self. You seem like you're really depressed. Things are not going well for you, are they? No, they're not. Tell me, have you been contemplating suicide? You're going to get one of three answers. You're going to get, yeah, no, or you're going to get silence. And when you get the silence answer, what does that mean? That means they're contemplating, doesn't it? Yeah, so you need to be aware of that. And then there's another follow-up question that's even harder to ask, but it's necessary. And that is, the question is, have you thought about how you're going to do it? Whoa. Okay. If somebody has already can tell you how they are planning to do this, my dad's got a gun in the bed stand. My mom's got prescription drugs in the bathroom. Or I'm just going to drive into an abutment at 100 miles an hour because everybody will think that's an accident. When they tell you that, they are very, very serious about it and maybe very close to it. All right? What do you do then? What do you do when somebody just tells you, yeah, I'm thinking about it and I've got a gun? What should you do in that situation? Any ideas?
Well, if it's a kid, you should warn their parents about it. So careful around, like, let's say they have a gun, they should be more careful with the gun or find a way to hide it.
Okay. Okay.
If it's in the moment, if I'm not mistaken, there's actually like a special group that you can call for them to go check up on a person.
Okay. All right. Those are really good ideas. If we're thinking maybe he's thinking about it, but it's down the road. If you think it's imminent, what should you do? 911. 911. Absolutely. And if there's doubt in your mind, you're not sure whether you should or not, do it. Okay? 911 should be the first call. There's another way that you can get help for people, and that's the National Suicide Hotline. Okay? There's a phone number for that. I'm going to give you, I'm going to have, at the table here, I'm going to have a handout for you at the end of the day where you can get some resources, some places to call. Not only is there a hotline number, but because y'all don't like telephones anymore, and you don't email anymore, and you text a lot, there's actually a text number to get to the suicide hotline. Okay? Those are good ways to get the people that are in need right away. Now, we already know about the counseling service here, don't we? And Dr. Jesse can counsel you in things academic. He can also counsel you in things emotional and dealing with possible suicide attempts as well. There's one other I'm going to give you. I'm going to leave on the desk up there. I'm going to leave my card. If you ever want to talk to anybody, you ever want somebody to listen to what's going on in your life, I'm a great listener. Dolly is a great listener too. You know, she doesn't talk much, but she's a great listener. So I try to follow her example. And if anybody would ever like to do that and like somebody just to visit with or talk to you about emotional issues or even spiritual issues, I am here to do that for you. My number will be up there as well. And then I've got another thing that I'm going to put out there for you guys to look at. I want to show it to you. It's a small laminated card. And there's going to be a number of them up there. I think I got enough for most of you. And on the front, it talks about ask your friends, care for your friends, embrace your friends. And on the back, it's got a series of questions, as we were just talking about questions that you can ask. And these questions will tell you whether they're at a low risk, they're at a medium risk, or they're at a very high risk. So if you would like one of these, I'm going to put that up there for you to be able to better help people. Now, we've been talking about this as helping other people. I asked you a question before, and you raised your hand. I'm going to ask you another question. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. How many of you in this room have contemplated suicide? I'm pretty much assured that there are some in this room that have. So know that there are assets available to you. Know that there are people that care. And don't be afraid to share your thoughts and your feelings with those that are close to you. Any questions or comments? If not, thank you, Eduardo, wherever you want to. Wherever you want to. Thank you for letting me.
You're done. So I know we're a little bit over the time, but we can do a quick 10-minute Q&A session with our panelists today.
Oh, okay.
So again, that's a QR code. You can scan it through your phone camera and ask questions to them. So the first question is, what if I don't want to take medication to stop my depression? What can I do?
Students ask me that all the time. Now, let me be real clear. Sometimes there is a chemical foundation or a chemical component to a depression, and you're never really going to overcome that depression until you do get some meds. So let me be real clear about that. There are a lot of things you can do without meds. All the things that we talked about before. But what I tell them is, if you're not going to take meds, you have to really, really be serious about doing this other stuff. You've got to do it faithfully. You've got to do it really, really to the max. You've got to do it every day. I had a young man who had anxiety, didn't want to take meds. And there was some stuff we did, and he got into yoga, got into meditation, got into a lot of stuff. He was really serious about it, and he's maintaining so far, doing okay with it. It's a harder road. It's up to you. You have to make the difference, but it's doable in most cases. Sometimes you're just going to have, you need the meds, or you're going to have to live with a certain level of depression. But there's a whole lot that can be done, but it'll be up to you to truly be serious and really put forth the effort and really be disciplined about it.
Thank you. Another question is, does being in a relationship help getting through my mental health?
That can go both ways.
Let me take that one. let me take that one. If I understood that question correctly, does being in a relationship help me with my mental health? Let me tell you something. Some relationships can drive you absolutely crazy. It's important to know yourself well enough, know how you want to be treated before you give your heart to somebody, okay? Because your identity is all wrapped up in what you give your heart to or who you give your heart to. So the answer to that question is it could be horrible for your mental health, or it could be great for your mental health, depending on the health of your partner. And a relationship will never be any healthier than the most unhealthy one in the pair.
Very good.
If I could add something, if your purpose for getting into a relationship is to get help for your mental health, it does not bode well for that relationship.
Yeah.
Another question is, how can I help someone who deals with mental health issues and they don't want help? It gets very overwhelming and it affects me.
Pretend there's a lamp on here. It's got a base, it's got a stand, it's got a lamp shade, it's got an old-fashioned one bulb, a round bulb in there. How many therapists, how many counselors does it take to change that light bulb? Just one. But the light bulb has to really, really want to change. We don't change people. Therapists don't change people. Psychiatrists don't change people. Psychologists don't change people. We don't change people. We help people who want to change, and if they don't want to change, they can come to me for years, and it's not going to make a lot of difference. They have to want to change.
Let me add something to that, because that is such a very important question. Thank the person whoever asked that question. Is that here's another life skill that will save you lots of grief and help you become fully who you are, and that is learn how to set healthy boundaries in your life. Healthy boundaries. Boundaries they don't mean you don't care, they mean you do care. Okay? So if you've got somebody in your life that's constantly draining you, that's constantly keeping you from doing what you need to be doing, or that may be a time to think about setting a more healthy boundary.
And if you take care of yourself, when and if they're ready, you will be much healthier and much stronger and much better able to help them. This isn't about giving up on them.
Right.
It's about keeping yourself healthy so that when they're ready, you're better able.
Right.
And keeping the lines of communication open with them too, so that they know that they can talk to you. That's very important.
Yeah. Our last question. What can I do to help a friend whose family member died from suicide?
That is a multifaceted question, because there are many ways to do that. One of the things is that you need to stay in touch with that person. Be there for them. You're not necessarily there to give them all the answers and help them. You're there to walk alongside of them, to put your arm around them and to help them. And then also connect them with the resources that they are comfortable with. Do you go to church? Yes, I do. I'm a Catholic. Well, let me get a hold of your priest so that your priest can come and help you. Keep that person involved and keep in touch with them, because a lot of times people don't know what to say. They don't know what to say to somebody that's gone through this terrible thing. You don't have to say a word. You just have to be there.
That concludes our Speak Out event today. I greatly appreciate everybody coming out. But yes, we do have food and beverages outside, and we greatly, it'd be an honor for us if you guys could take a picture with us also right now as a group picture. We're here in front, and also there will be a 5-question survey outside once you leave. All right, thank you very much, guys.
Eduardo, I've got some handouts. Should I put them here or out there? Put them right here.